And welcome back to the Red Zone Warriors Fantasy Football Show. Today is Tuesday, November 25th. I am Rob the Commish Smith, here as always with my partner in crime, Jay Cushman Corsel. You know, Jay, as this is Thanksgiving week, I'd just like to take a moment to say happy Thanksgiving, a heartfelt happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there listening and or watching. And just would like to say thank you so much for listening to us ramble on about the game that we clearly love and spend way too much time doing and thinking about. Hopefully you've learned a few things over the course of the season thus far. I know we have from simply prepping for this show every week. So now, Jay, let's go get some championships.
I'm all about doing that shit, especially this coming week in the FFPC, or FPC rather, playing for our league championship there. So I hope we take the other team down. Won't mention any names, but you're going down, bitch.
We are indeed playing for the championship. So we'll see how that works out for us. All right, everyone, tweet us, as always, your fantasy football questions at Red Zone Warriors. All right, Jay, let's get started as we do with the latest news, notes, and most importantly, injuries around the NFL.
All right. Well, there's a chance that Julius Thomas is going to play this week. So they think he's going to return against Kansas City, and thank God, because Jacob Tamme has just not been able to do it, man. The guy had one catch for -1 yards in Week 12 against the Dolphins. So that's good news for Orange Julius owners, because if you had to pick up Tamme to play in the meantime, you were hurting badly. I hope you didn't miss the playoffs because of it.
Yeah, the definition of not doing good is one catch for -1 yard. Very much so. All right, Arian Foster likely to return this Sunday. Now, we have heard this before. We kind of heard this last week. But Texans coach Bill O'Brien said Monday that running back Arian Foster could return to action this Sunday against the Tennessee Titans. Of course, he's missed the last 2 games due to a growing injury, which we do not like here on the Red Zone Warriors Fantasy Football Podcast. Rookie Alfred Blue has filled in pretty nicely, but not so much this past week against Cincinnati. But again, Arian Foster should be returning in a good matchup, so keep an eye on his progress as the week continues.
Yeah, well, for those of us that snagged Alfred Blue real fast because somebody in your league was too stupid to have him as a handcuff, a couple of weeks of decent production is coming to an end, unfortunately, I think. But moving on here, Jay Gruden supposedly is very intent on starting RG3 in Week 13. Now, he said at one point that there's a chance at a lot of positions for a reevaluation, but then he clarified that he has every intent to start RG3 versus the Colts in Week 13. So, if you're starting RG3, which if you are, I'm guessing you're probably not in the playoffs, so, or even in the race. But if you're starting him, he'll probably be starting, unfortunately.
Yeah, Jay Gruden did talk to the brass there in D.C., and he's got the power to pull the plug anytime he sees fit, so we'll see how that works. All right, they're saying Dwayne Allen, the pretty studly tight end there for Indianapolis, is considered day-to-day this week to play, says head coach Chuck Pagano. He's trending in the right direction. Kobe Fleener, of course, would get the nod again and be the full-time tight end and pass catcher there if Allen does not play. But even with Allen out in Week 12, Fleener didn't really produce like we all thought he would and what his owners, of course, hoped for. But the Colts do host the Redskins in a pretty tight end-friendly matchup in Week 13, so keep an eye out, both you Dwayne Allen and or Kobe Fleener owners.
Absolutely, yeah, I know we will be. Sources say that Ryan Mallett is done for the year. The Texans quarterback Ryan Mallett will miss the rest of the season due to a torn right pectoral muscle, according to media reports. However, accurate that's going to be. However, a team source told ESPN that Mallett's injury is still being evaluated and that no determination has been made on his status. So, Yeah, we have no idea what's going on with Ryan Mallett at this point, so let's look at Ryan Fitzpatrick and move right along.
Yes, move along indeed. All right, lastly here for the news and notes this week, Larry Fitzgerald could miss more games, quote unquote. It was the knee sprain that he had. He grade 2 MCL sprain, I believe it was. Didn't respond as he had hoped for week 12. Could miss more games. They do have a nice matchup in week 13 on the road at Atlanta this week. So if he cannot play, then of course that bumps the stock of Michael Floyd and John Brown. Should benefit there. So this is another guy you just kind of have to watch his practice progress towards the end of the week here. All right, and that is it for the news and notes for this week. We're going to head on over, as always, and quickly go through the game-by-game recaps and talk about the fantasy relevant and not so relevant players in Week 12. So we're going to start with last Thursday night game, the Chiefs versus the Raiders. This was a surprise one. It was a surprise because the Raiders hadn't won a game yet. They ended up beating the Chiefs in this one for their first game of the season. Puts them to now 1-10 to the tune of 24-20. So we're going to start here with the Oakland Raider passing game. Mr. Derek Carr, 18 of 35 for $174, 1 touchdown, no picks. This was Latavius Murray's coming out party, folks. So if he's on your waiver wire, somebody we'll talk about here in a little bit. He only had 4 carries before he got concussed, but those 4 carries went for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he ran a 90-yard touchdown against the Chiefs, who hadn't given up a rushing touchdown all season long. So
this proves nothing, just so you know.
Yeah, but this was a guy that we were all hoping that rookie that they got in there and see what he could do, because McFadden and Jones-Drew are clearly too old to play anymore. See what this kid can do, and his limited time in there before getting concussed, he did all that he could do and more. So somebody to keep an eye out for, especially in keeper leagues and dynasty leagues. From a receiving perspective, Andre Holmes was targeted the most here, targeted 10 times. He caught 5 of those for 55 yards, and James Jones caught 5 of his 6 for 47 and a score.
All right. Well, one question real quick on Latavius Murray. Would you, if you were, say, this week, playing your ass off for a playoff spot, for the last playoff spot, or for first place in your league, would you trust it to Latavius Murray?
Latavius. Of course, you'd have to, assuming he's healthy to play, he was coming off that concussion, so he's going to have to follow the concussion protocol.
Assuming he's healthy to play.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't. They're playing the Rams this week, and as we've said, we've all seen the last few weeks, the Rams' rush defense is absolutely no joke. So unless you're just in a really deep league and desperate and looking for a guy with a really high ceiling, I'd probably hold off on him for another week.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Four carries for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns, one of them being a 90-yard carry, is, it's great, but I'd like to see more. So, moving on. Kansas City side of the ball here. The guys that stopped the Oakland Raiders from taking my Lions off of their ever-so-high perch, where they're all by their lonesome of 0-16. Giving the Raiders a win. Alex Smith, 20 of 36, 234, and 2 touchdowns. Not a bad day for Mr. Smith. Jamal Charles, 19 carries for 80 yards, added 4 catches, 42 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah,
so Jamal got it done for you, man. Travis Kelce was the other leading receiver with 4 catches for 67 yards. And Dwayne Bowe, those of you who thought Dwayne Bowe was going to make a resurgence, 3 catches, 42 yards. Anthony Fasano caught the other touchdown, and really, that's it for the Chiefs.
All right, so we're going to move on to my Denver Broncos, one that was a lot closer than us Broncos fans had hoped it would be. We ended up winning this one 39-36 over the Dolphins, moving us to 8-3, and the Dolphins 6-5. Peyton Manning, 28 of 35 for 257 yards and 4 touchdowns, no picks. A little bounce back from last week, clearly here. And this one, C.J. Anderson continues to get it done on the ground. Decided to run the ball a little more than we did last week, which was one of the reasons we lost. Carried the ball 27 times for 167 yards, averaging 6.2 yards to carry and a score. He also caught 4 balls for 28 yards for a little PPR sugar, as Cushman says. We also had Emmanuel Sanders, did start, was active in this one after being concussed last week, and got right back into the swing of things. Caught 9 of 13 targets for $125. And my man, Demaryius Thomas, caught 10 of 13 for 87 yards and 3 scores.
Good job.
Boom. Welker, 4 for 4 for 18. But he did catch a score and pass some sort of record there for, forget what it was exactly, but that score got him over some sort of record top, so that was nice to see.
Yeah, nice to see the bobblehead getting a little something done out there. Moving on to Miami, they came so close to taking down Denver. Tannehill was 26 of 36, 228, 3 touchdowns, did throw the 1 pick. Lamar Miller, 12 for 59, no touchdowns. Javaris Landry, man, this guy is starting to come out a little bit as a bit of a PPR monster. He's getting a lot of targets, 11 targets, 7 catches, 50 yards, 2 touchdowns. Guy killed it. Brandon Gibson had 5 catches, 42 yards. The only other touchdown was thrown to Mr. Mike Wallace, who had 4 catches and 35 yards to go along with it. Other than that, not much going on for Miami in this loss.
Go Broncos. All right, we're going to move on to the, sorry, Jay, but the Patriots drubbing of the Lions to the tune of 34-9. Yes, they did not score a touchdown.
Second week in a row, man. 2.5 games without a touchdown.
Brutal. Tom Brady, 38 of 53 for 349 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. LeGarrette Blount just signed with the team after getting booted from Pittsburgh. Comes in 12 carries for 78 yards and 2 scores.
That's a big fuck you.
It's a big fuck you to Jonas Gray. I heard that before this game that Jonas overslept and missed Friday's team meeting, and when I saw that, I was like, yeah, I am not. I got him in a non-PPR league, decided not to play him. Thankfully, I did not, because he did not get a single snap, not 1 snap. You don't fuck with the hooded one. If you do, you don't get a snap. Shane Vereen carried 8 times for 12 yards. Not doing so good there. He did catch 8 for 48, so got it done for you in a PPR. Julian Edelman caught 11 of his 15 for 89 yards. Gronk, 5 of 10 for 78. And Brandon LaFell keeps getting those targets. Team actually second in targets on the team here. Caught 9 of 12 for 98.
Yeah, Patriots, I knew going into this game the Lions were going to, if they were going to win, they were going to have to score a lot of points, and field goals aren't going to get it, Matt Stafford, 18 of 46, not great. 264 yards, no touchdown, and 1 interception. Makes me want to punch him in his stupid fat little face. Joique Bell, 19 for 48, not great. Golden Tate had 4 catches for 97 yards, but 4 catches on 11 targets. Calvin Johnson, 4 catches on 10 targets, 58 yards. Theo Riddick, 3 of 6 for 40 yards. There's really no offense to speak of. And the defense, can only expect it to do so much. One little quick word on the whole Jonas Gray, LeGarrette Blount thing, though. Don't be surprised if next week Jonas Gray, or this coming week, Jonas Gray actually gets some carries as long as he shows up on time to practice all week. And maybe, cuts into Blount's time or takes it over. Just saying, it is the hoodie.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you can trust either guy. You don't know who's going to get the start, how many carries they're going to get, that sort of thing. So And also, I forgot to mention too, Tim Wright, the other tight end there in New England. Don't hear a lot about this guy because Gronk's there, of course, but he caught 5 of his 6 targets for 2 touchdowns. So this guy is, he either has a huge day or does nothing. But the way the tight end landscape is right now, you could actually do worse in deeper leagues than Mr. Timothy Wright. So, all right, so we're gonna move on to the Cleveland Browns waning field goal in victory, 26-24 over the division-leading Falcons, believe it or not, that are now 4-7. Brian Hoyer, 23 of 40 for 322 and no touchdowns and 3 picks. So yeah, that's not great. But the big thing here, folks, was that Josh Gordon was back. He's back. People wondering, oh, should I play him? Should I not? His first game back. It's a good matchup and all, but man, does he have smokers along? What's going on there? Josh Gordon targeted a team high, and it wasn't close. 16 targets, caught 8 of those for $120. So he got it done for you, especially in a PPR league. Got 20-something points. We will take that all day. Andrew Hawkins, Baby Hawk, caught 5 of 5 for 93. He also got some love there, as well as Miles Austin catching 6 of 8 for 64. And I tell you, Isaiah Crowell, Terrence West, they carried the ball about the same amount. West 14 times for 62 yards, but Isaiah Crowell 12 times for 88. Just shy of doubling his yards per carry, and he got 2 scores. So it's definitely looking like we thought that Isaiah Crowell is the back to have in Cleveland.
Yeah, it is. That was not a fun carousel to be on. I'm just saying, I was on that motherfucker, and I didn't like it. I didn't win either, unfortunately. All right, Atlanta, Matt Ryan actually showed up a little bit in this one, 27 of 43, 273 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Steven Jackson, 13 for 34 and a touchdown. Not great, man. Not great. Roddy White continues to show up week after week after week after week. 9 for 96. Didn't catch a touchdown. That went to Julio Jones, who had 5 for 68. He actually had more targets, 10 to Roddy's 13. Steven Jackson had a couple catches for 17 yards. Other than that, nothing really of merit to mention. Rob?
All right, so we're going to move on to the Titans and the Eagles. Man, the Eagles got back on track here big time. Mark Sanchez, 30 of 43 for 307 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, but no butt fumbles, so that's good.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Watched every play, not this time.
No butt fumbles.
LaShawn McCoy carried the ball 21 times for $130 and a score. So I know he's not scored that much for his owners this year, but he did get in this one and put up a really good number. This is what we expect from McCoy, and hopefully he keeps this up moving forward. Darren Sproles carried the ball 6 times for 25 yards and also stole a rushing touchdown from LaShawn McCoy. He also caught 3 of 4 for 14. Jake Matthews continuing to get some love from Sanchez. Tied Macklin in targets again. Actually, he's been out-targeting Macklin the last couple weeks, but he caught 6 of 8 for 77. Macklin caught 6 of 8 for 59. Neither one of them scored through the air. That touchdown came from Mr. James Casey. We all expect that, of course, from that no-name tight end. That's it for the Eagles.
All right, Tennessee. Zach Mittenberger, 20 of 39, 345, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Bishop Sankey, 10 for 37. Not great. Sean Green stole the touchdown. So that wasn't a great day for Bishop Sankey gamblers. Delaney Walker, 5 catches, 155 yards. Pretty damn nice day for Mr. Walker there. Justin Hunter, 4 for 64. Nate Washington, 4 for 63. And Kendall Wright was once again left out in the cold, folks. 1 catch for 28 yards. Sankey also lost a fumble in this one, so that would have dropped him a couple points lower than he already was. And that, believe me, was low enough.
Yes, yes, it was. All right, we're going to move on to a matchup that was a lot closer than it should have been, and that was the Packers sneaking away with a victory over the Vikings by a mere 3 points, 24-21. Aaron Rodgers, 19 of 29 for 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, which was kind of a down day for him, actually. Eddie Lacy is blowing up all over the place, getting it done on the ground, getting it done through the air. 25 carries for 125 yards and a rushing touchdown. He also caught 2 balls for 13 yards and another score. So the guy is killing it. We were saying how good his schedule was towards the latter part of the season. No, he got off to a slow start, got concussed and whatnot, but he is getting it done now. Jordy Nelson targeted a team high, and again, it was not close. 12 times, caught 8 of those for 68. Randall Cobb caught 4 of 5 for 58. And Corliss is getting a little bit more done there than Rodgers. As far as 2 of 3 for 50 yards, so getting a little tight in love there. But Richard Rodgers is just kind of more of a sketchy play nowadays over Corliss.
Yeah, Green Bay tight ends are always a sketchy play, which is kind of freaking weird if you think about it, but I try not to think about it, and I just don't play them. Teddy Bridgewater on the Minnesota side of the ball, 21 of 37, 210 yards, couple touchdowns and a pick. Jerick McKinnon, not a real impressive showing here, 15 of 54. He did add 3 catches for 9 yards, but it's not a great day. He keeps that up. Ben Tate might get a look here if Asiata doesn't get better soon. Teddy Bridgewater added 5 carries for 32 yards. Kyle Rudolph, 3 catches, 50 yards, and Charles Johnson, 3 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown. Greg Jennings, 4 for 38 and a touchdown. Cordell Patterson continues to just not be a factor, and that is probably part of Minnesota's problem. Rob?
Yeah, one of many. All right, the Colts beat the Jags. Big surprise there. The only surprise here was it wasn't by more than 20 points. They won 23-3 over the now tied with the Raiders 1-10 Jaguars. Andrew Luck, 21 of 32 for 253 yards and 1 score. So you're kind of hoping a little bit more from Luck playing the Jaguars there, but that's all he did for his owners this week. Dan Herron came out of nowhere, 3rd stringer, get some play time in there because Ahmad Bradshaw, of course, went down, broken leg. He carried the ball just 1 fewer times than Trent Richardson. Carried it 12 times for 65 yards. That's an average of 5.4 yards a carry versus T. Rich, 13, 42 yards for 3.2 yards a carry. He did get in the goal line carry and a touchdown, but man, when your 3rd stringer no one's ever heard of gets in and has 2 more yards a carry than the lead running back there, things are not looking good for T. Rich. All right, not a lot of passing in this game. T.Y. Hilton was only targeted 5 times, did catch 4 of those for $122 and a score. He had a pretty long play.
Is that all? Is that all?
That's it. One of them was a big play. I forget how many yards it went for. But
73 yards.
Yes, that was most of it in his day, but you'll take it. Moncrief staying consistent here, catching all 4 of his targets for 38. And Kobe Fleener, again, wasn't the day that we were thinking he would have with this matchup. With his counterpart, Dwayne Allen, out. He just caught 2 of 4 for 28, so you were definitely disappointed in him. And Reggie Wayne continues to be a no-show here. Caught 3 of 9 for a whopping 10 yards.
Yeah, I think Reggie Wayne is going to be all right, man. At 9, he's getting the most targets on the team. And he is Reggie Wayne. He'll start catching the ball. So moving on to Jacksonville, Blake Bortles, 15 of 27, 146 yards and a pick. Like I said, if Jacksonville, man, good God, they're good for a pick, at least one every week. Denard Robinson, 14 carries, 25 yards. It's pretty bad when Toby Gerhart outrushes you with 10 less carries. It's pretty bad.
That is bad.
Marquise Lee, 3 catches, 52 yards. Denard, 4 catches for 47 yards. Gerhart, 3 for 19. I could keep going down this list, but I'm just I can't because it sucks.
Yeah, moving right along. Cincinnati, look at their defeat over the Texans, 22-13. This was an A.J. Green day. It actually was a career day, I believe, for A.J. Green. And throwing him the pigskin was the Red Rocket Andy Dalton, 24 of 35 for 233 yards, one score, one pick. But he threw most all of his yards to, again, A.J. Green. Caught 12 of his whopping 16 targets for 121 yards. Did not get in the end zone, but man, he's getting you damn near 30 points without even scoring. You know he had a good day. Mohamed Sanu continues to hold his fantasy value. Caught 5 of his 7 for 48 and a touchdown. Bernard came back in this one from being hurt there for a handful of weeks. And Jeremy Hill. So we're all wondering about what the split would be between these two. Well, it was right down the middle, pretty much. Jeremy Hill carried the ball 18 times for 87 yards. That's 4.8 yards a carry and a score. Gio in his first game back, 17 times for 45 yards, only 2.6 yards a carry. So, I don't know if that was more about just his first game back, getting into the swing of things, coming off an injury, or what, but it's definitely something to monitor. And Jeremy Hill's probably the safer of the two to start moving forward. If you were to have both of them.
Absolutely. All right, moving on. Houston, Ryan Mallett, 21 of 45, 189 yards and a pick. And he got hurt. Don't know what's going to go on with him, as we said earlier. Alfred Blue, 16 carries, 46 yards, 3 catches for 20. Not great. I'm sure they're chomping at the bit to get Arian Foster back in the lineup. Garrett Graham, 4 catches, 41 yards. DeAndre Hopkins, 5 for 39. Andre Johnson, 3 for 36. Not much going on in the passing game or the running game for the Texans, Rob.
Yeah, it was not good. All right, so we're going to move on here to the Bears and the Buccaneers. So the Bears in this one, they were victorious. Of course, even they can beat the Buccaneers, who are now 2-9. They won 21-13. Jay Cutler was 17 of 27 attempts for 130 yards and a score. So again, not so great. No picks though. However, it was a Matt Forte day, as it typically is. Carried the ball 23 times. 89 yards, 2 scores on the ground. He also caught 5 of 6 for 23 yards through the air.
My man.
It very much is. Martellus Bennett was actually targeted the most from any patch catchers here on the Bears. Targeted 7 times, caught 4 of those for 37. Brandon Marshall simply caught 3 of 5 for 32, and Alshon 3 of 4 for 22. So it was definitely not a day to be starting your Bears pass catchers, nor the guy throwing in the ball. This was simply a Matt Forte day.
Bear down! Bear down! I love it. Fucking love it. All right, Josh McCown, 25 of 48, 341 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Those 2 picks, man, that hurts. Minus 4 points. Jeez. All right, rushing, Doug Martin, 11 for 27. Charles Sims, 6 for 22. Not a great day there. That's just a bad altogether team. Vincent Jackson, 5 for 117. Mike Evans, 3 for 47, but he did get a touchdown in this one. Lewis Murphy had 6 catches for 113 yards. And Safarian Jenkins didn't even show up in this one, so I won't even mention what his stat line was. Rob?
Yeah. Man, Cutler is just hit or miss, clearly.
Mostly miss.
It makes a sketchy play looking at your playoffs here upcoming. All right, so we're going to move on to the Arizona Cardinals and their defeat at the Wings. See what I did there, Jay? Of the Seahawks.
Yeah. Well, I do.
19-3.
I would just like to say it's nice to see 2 of the bird teams beating up on each other, as I'm part of the cat team brotherhood. The bird teams are shitheads, and I like to see them beating each other up. You may proceed.
All right. That is good radio, folks. We're not the best in the business for nothing. All right, Russell Wilson completed 17 of 22 because he just never throws the ball more than 22 times for 211 yards, 1 touchdown, but no pick. Of course, he did rush the ball 10 times for 73 yards because if he doesn't rush for 70-plus yards in a game, they've got no shot of winning. That's what's going on there in Seattle. Marshawn Lynch only carried it 5 more times than Russell, and for like a third of the yards per average. Only carried it for 39 yards, 2.6 yards a carry.
Beast mode!
Yeah.
You forgot his Skittles.
You might be falling apart before our very eyes. Yeah, not much going on here in the passing game. You know, Lynch caught actually 3 of 4 targets for 43 yards. And the tight end Milwaukee caught 4 of 4 for 34. And that's all that's worth talking about in Seattle.
Yeah, that's about it, too, isn't it? All right. Former Lions third-string quarterback Drew Stanton, 14 of 26, 149 yards, no touchdowns, and a pick. There was a reason he was third string. Andre Ellington, 10 for 24. John Brown, 3 catches, 61 yards. Ellington, 5 catches, 39 yards. No catches for Michael Floyd at all.
Wow.
Larry Fitzgerald didn't play in this one, correct?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, no catches for Michael Floyd, man. That's just, that's a pity. It really is a pity.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great at all. All right, so we're going to move on to the Rams playing the Chargers. This ended up being a pretty close one here. The Chargers squeaked it out to the tune of 27-24. Phillip Rivers completed 29 of 35 for 291 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Ryan Matthews came back and rushed in this one after being injured there the last several weeks. Carried the ball 12 times for 105 yards and a score. Averaged 8.8 yards a carry. Did pretty good there. Brandon Oliver just carried 6 for 17, but was involved in the passing side of the ball here. Caught all 4 of his targets for 23 yards. So we really kind of thought he would, take over that pass-catching role, and that seems to be the case here. Ryan Matthews caught all of his 2 targets as well for 8 yards. All right, so Keenan Allen targeted team high 9 times, caught 6 for $104 and a score. So he definitely came through this week. I know he's kind of been up and down his from fantasy stats week in and week out, but he got it done this week. Eddie Royal caught all 6 of his targets for 50 yards. And it was really about it. Antonio Gates caught 2 of 2 for 14. That's it. So not a whole lot of tight end action the last couple of weeks here for San Diego.
No, not a lot at all. Not like it was earlier in the season for anybody. St. Louis, Sean Hill, 18 of 35, 198 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks. Trey Mason, 16 for 62. Tavon Austin, 3 for 27 and a touchdown. That's carries. Receiving, Stedman Bailey, 7 catches on 9 targets for 89 yards. Kenny Britt, 2 for 37 on 6 targets. Ha, go to hell, Kenny Britt.
Hate you, Kenny Britt.
Dead to us. Jared Cook, 3 for 27. Not really, a whole lot more to talk about. Tavon Austin only had 3 for 11, so really not a whole ton going on there for St. Louis. Rob?
All right, so we're going to move on to the lowly Redskins. I realize the Raiders are 1-10, and it's, the Jags are 1-10. The Redskins are 3-8, but I think they're playing worse, actually, than those teams, believe it or not. Their locker room is a mess. They've got good players, but, man, the coaches can't get these guys to play together, and RG3 may very well not be who we thought he was his rookie season. We'll see. Speaking of RG3, completed just 11 of 19 for 106 measly yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Alfred Morris, this was kind of an Alfred Morris day, carried the ball 21 times for a $125 and a score, averaging 6 yards a carry, so he got it done this week. But man, Deshaun Jackson targeted team high 5 times, caught 2 for 39. Garcon only caught 3 of 4 for 34 yards. So, there is just really no player on this team.
Brutal. That's the only way to describe it, man.
You just can't start anyone with confidence on any level.
No, not at all, man. Again, sad, I don't like to see it. Nobody likes to see it. All right, moving on. San Francisco, Colin Kaepernick, 20 of 29, 256 yards, touchdown and a pick. Added 9 carries for 14 yards. Frank Gore carried the ball 13 times for 36 yards. Carlos Hyde 7 for 16 and a touchdown. Anquan Bolden continues to get a lot of targets, 12 targets, 9 catches, 137 yards and a touchdown. Guy continues to produce. Like he's a younger version of himself. Michael Crabtree, 5 catches for 58 yards. And that really is it to say for San Francisco's production this week.
All right, so we're going to move on to last Sunday evening's game, the Cowboys and the Giants. The Cowboys did win this game, 31-28, but you wouldn't know it because of all the hoopla around Odell Beckham Jr.'s catch in the end zone for a touchdown, one of the best catches that you will ever see. A lot of debate as to where it ranks in history.
It's right up there, man.
It is way up there. All right, so we'll start with Dallas. Tony Romo completed 18 of 26 for 275 yards and 4 touchdowns. Man, bye week did good things for Mr. Romo and his back, apparently.
Must have went to the massage parlor.
He must have some happy times, the old massage parlor.
Happy times.
Happy endings, as they say. DeMarco Murray, 24 carries for 121 yards, averaging 5 yards a carry. No touchdowns, but man, he was getting it done. He also caught 2 of his 3 targets for 22 yards as well. Des Bryant, as you would think, 9 targets, the most of the team, caught 7 of those 9 for 86 and 2 scores.
Thank you, Des.
Yeah, Jason Witten caught 4 of his 6 for 30 and a score. And little old Cole Beasley, he's the guy with the blonde mullet. He caught all 2 of his targets for 66 yards and a score.
Yes, well, Eli Manning actually was able to throw more touchdowns than interceptions this week. He was 29 of 40 for 338, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Rashad Jennings, 19 of 52. He did catch 8 balls for 68 yards, though. So, if you're in a PPR league, you were happy with his production. Andre Williams got 10 carries for 35 yards and a touchdown. Odell Beckham Jr. had 10 receptions on 11 targets, 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. We obviously talked about the amazing catch that he had. And the guy's catching 10 out of 11 targets, and when the ball sticks to your hands like that, I can see why. Reuben Randall was only 3 for 36. Larry Donnell continues to not show up. So that is all I have for the Giants.
All right, Jay, with this just in, breaking news into the Red Zone Warriors satellite studios, Denver, Colorado, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. The Browns beat writer saying Jordan Cameron could play this week. He is on track to play, which could be an interesting play for those hurting at tight end, as the whole position is hurting, frankly, unless you have Jimmy Graham or Gronkowski or the ailing Julius Thomas. So just take note to that. Follow his progress, of course, as the week continues. Just wanted to make you aware of that. All right, so we're going to move on to the Monday night games, of which there were 2. We had a bonus game because of, all the snow in Buffalo. But you figure, the Bills, all this drama with their stadium, they couldn't even get in as much practice as they normally would. It really screwed up their week, and they got to go to Detroit and play a game. They're probably going to get their butts kicked. That was not the case here. 38-3, the drubbing of the lowly Jets. Kyle Orton was 24 of 32 attempts for 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks. Anthony Dixon had the most carries here. Him and Freddie kind of split it, but Anthony got 12 carries for 54 yards and a score. Fred Jackson, 10 carries for 32 yards and a score of his own. You know, Robert Woods watching this game, man, Orton was looking to this guy early and often. He caught all 9 of his team-high 11 targets for 118 yards and a score. Sammy Watkins, man, he came up short this week, caught just 3 of his 5 targets for just a mere 35 yards. And the big guy, the one, the only, Scott Chandler, caught all 3 of his targets for 28 yards, but a score.
Yeah, good old big old Chandler. He's a good guy. Saw his AMA on Reddit. He's pretty interesting stuff to say. All right, the dumpster fire known as the Jets can't decide who to start at quarterback. So we've got Geno Smith, 10 of 12 for 89 yards, no touchdowns or no picks, and Michael Vick, 7 of 19. For 76 yards and a pick. They just don't know what's going on there. Chris Johnson had 7 carries for 40 yards, and Chris Ivory had 7 carries for 31 yards. Not a touchdown between the two of them. And Michael Vick and Geno Smith both carried the ball twice, and each had 4 yards. So not a great day for them. Jeremy Curley, 5 catches, 66 yards. Eric Decker, 4 for 63. Chris Johnson and Chris Ivory, the running backs, both added 3 catches for 22 and 7 yards, respectively. Percy Harvin only had 1 catch for 2 yards. So the Jets are pathetic. They're pitiful, and I'm glad.
They are. They are not looking good. All right, we're going to wrap it up here. The last game we will chat about was the second game from Monday night, and that was the original one. The Baltimore Ravens playing the New Orleans Saints. In the Dome in New Orleans, where they're supposed to be better, but they still lost 34-27. The Saints
Boom!
are no longer what we think of them as. They are just not. They're also 4-7 now. So there is that.
Dude, that whole NFC South is a joke this year, man.
It really is. It is pathetic. So Drew Brees completed 35 of 45 for 420 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. So he definitely got it done for his owners in a losing effort. But who cares in fantasy, right? Drew Brees had such a good day. Of course, he's got to be throwing it to someone. And who else but Jimmy Graham? Targeted team high 10 times, caught 6 of those for 47 yards and 2 scores. Kenny Stills thought he might get a little extra work with their stud rookie being out with a broken thumb. He caught 8 of his 9 targets for 98 yards. So he got it done for you, especially in a PPR if you wanted to roll the dice on him. Marquise Colston caught all 4 of his targets for 82 yards and a score. On the rushing side of the ball, Mark Ingram, of course, carried the ball the most, carried it 11 times, but for only 27 yards. Baltimore rush defense is no joke. Pierre Thomas carried 5 for 19, and that was about it. Pierre did catch all 6 of his 8 for 37, so it did okay for you in a PPR. But again, the Saints are just not getting it done.
Caught all 6 of his 8, huh?
Again, all 6 of his 8.
That's Denver math, folks. Denver math. All right. Joe Flacco, 18 of 24, 243 and a touchdown. Justin Forsett, man, this guy, I tell you what, 22 carries, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns, had 2 catches for 8 yards. Guy just killed it. Torrey Smith, 5 catches for 98 yards. Steve Smith, 4 for 89 and a touchdown. And that's about it. It's all that's worth mentioning here at the Baltimore side of the ball.
All right, that's a wrap then for the Week 12 recap. We're going to move on to the Week 13 hot waiver wire picks up. And Jay, you're going to get us started at quarterback with one Mr. Josh McCown.
That I am, Rob. That I am. All right. Look, in 3 games since coming back in Tampa's starting lineup, McCown has averaged 310 yards with 5 touchdown passes against 4 interceptions. He's throwing it at a high rate with 48 passes in the Buccaneers' 21-13 loss to the Bears on Sunday, and with 43 attempts in a Week 10 loss to the Falcons. So, he's got rough matchups against the Bengals and my Lions coming up in the next 2 weeks, but he has a great pair of weapons in wide receivers, Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson, if Vincent Jackson could do anything. He's been doing actually halfway decent, so I'll back off him a little bit. So as I said, Bengals, Lions, and then Panthers up next for McCown. Rob?
Yeah, and if you make it that far, the Panthers might be a very good matchup there for quarterbacks, of course. So, all right, the only other quarterback we're going to mention is Titans quarterback Zach Mettenberger. The rookie threw for 345 yards and 2 touchdowns this past Sunday, and the Titans 39-20 loss to the Eagles. Of course, a lot of garbage time here, a lot of throwing the ball, but in fantasy, we will take it. He gets another good matchup this week against the Texans. He does have 4 TD passes in the last 2 games, so he's taking care of his business. And he's got some soft matchups with the Texans, Giants, and Jets upcoming. So if you're hurting, dying out there for quarterback, could be worse on the waiver wire.
Mettenberger. All right, we're going to move on to the running backs, and we're going to start with Raiders running back Latavius Murray. Murray, before I jump into this whole thing here, let's temper expectations a little bit. He had 112 yards on 4 carries. One of them was a 90-yard touchdown run. So, you're only looking at 22 yards on the other 3 carries, another of which was a touchdown. But just, don't think this guy's a world beater just yet. But, okay, he finally got his chance against the Chiefs. On Thursday, he had an 11-yard TD run and 90-yard TD run. And that is the first 2 rushing touchdowns allowed by the Chiefs this season, by the way. And then he got knocked the fuck out. Fumbled the ball and had to leave for the rest of the game with a concussion. Since it was a Thursday game, he's got extra time to go through the concussion protocol in time for Sunday's game against the Rams. And 3 of the next 4 games that Oakland has come against teams that entered Week 12 with top 5 run defenses. And the other game is a top 10 run defense. Next 3, Rams, 49ers, Chiefs. So, like I said, not only do you need to temper your expectations with this guy because 4 carries, even though it was for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns, is not enough to base starting him or not on, and he's facing some pretty rough defenses coming up. So, yeah, he's worth keeping an eye on, but be careful.
All right, so we're going to move on to the Colts running back Dan Herron. If he's still on your waiver wire, he might have gotten skipped over last week. He might be there this week. So he had 17 touches in the Colts' 23-3 win over the Jaguars on Sunday. Of course, the lopsided nature of their win here over the lowly Jags probably helped explain a little bit of that workload he got, but man, to come in being 3rd string, if not had a carry all season practically, and split it 50-50 with Trent Richardson, probably says more about Trent Richardson, frankly, than it does about Dan Boom Herron. But needless to say, as one would expect, he did outproduce Trent Richardson yards per carry wise, and was far more involved in the passing game. So he kind of took over that hybrid role that Ahmad Bradshaw had. So 12 carries and 65 yards against Jaguars. So it was pretty solid, caught all 5 of his targets. So the guy does have a pair of hands there in Indies. Next matchups are the Redskins, Browns, and Texans. So he's a pretty decent flex play if you need one out there.
Yeah, too bad I was unable to acquire him in my neighborhood league because the commissioner is a fucktard. All right, moving on here. Patriots running back LeGarrette Blount. All right, so Jonas Gray ran for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Colts in Week 11. And then he proceeded to oversleep and miss a practice. And you know that Bill Belichick does not take kindly to such shenanigans. So the Patriots went out and reacquired LeGarrette Blount, who had been dumped by the Steelers for having a piss-poor attitude. And the Patriots won 34-9 over my Lions on Sunday. Hate even saying that. And Gray didn't get a snap. Blunt ran 12 times for 78 yards and 2 touchdowns. So next week against the Packers, who apparently have a decent run defense lately, good luck deciding on who you should start there and who you should sit. And after the Packers, they've got the Chargers and the Dolphins. So, yeah, just don't trust any Patriots running back right now unless you're in a PPR league and happen to have Shane Vereen.
True that. Is not the situation you want to find yourself. All right, the last running back waiver wire pickup we're going to discuss, again, is Pierre Thomas. He's a big name, but of course he was hurt and out for several weeks. He came back and just played this last game Monday night against the Ravens, and he was pretty much back to his normal role in that game. So, again, if he's still out in your waiver wire, and especially if you're in a PPR league, you could do worse out there than him.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to move on here to the wide receivers, and we're going to talk about Dolphins wide receiver Jarvis Landry. If he's still on your waiver wire, go get this guy. He's, especially if you're in a PPR league, he's getting a metric fuck ton of targets. They're not using him a ton in their downfield passing game, but he's been awesome at hauling in, the short passes near the line of scrimmage. Then he just runs his ass off, gets good yards after the catch. Over the last 4 weeks, he's been targeted 32 times. He's got 24 catches for 195 yards and 4 touchdowns. Last week against the Broncos, he turned in 11 targets into 7 catches for 50 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's exceeded 50 yards receiving only twice all season, but his catch totals make him definitely worth it in PPR. And he's starting to find his way into the end zone with a little bit more regularity. So, and dude, this week we got the Jets. So, if you got him this week, you got to play him. I mean, he's a must-play against the Jets, I think. Ravens, Patriots, 2 weeks after that, probably a little more sketchy, considering it's playoff time. But hey, if he's getting this many targets, he's going to be putting up some points somewhere along the line. So that's it.
All right, so the last wide receiver we're going to talk about this week is Kenny Stills. Again, Brandon Cooks was the big rookie there for New Orleans, a high draft pick. He is out for the rest of the season on IR with a broken thumb. So Stills is going to get more targets, and he has been. I mean, he's kind of looked at as in the past as being more one-dimensional, kind of a guy who just stretches the defense and gets some bombs every once in a while. But he's always been very efficient. But he's just getting more targeted, catching, 21 of 27 targets over his last 5 games, what he was doing entering last night for 13.8 yards a catch. So if you're that efficient and catching at almost 14 yards a target, you can definitely have some fantasy football value. And the game just last night, again, he caught 8 of his 9 targets for 98 yards. No scores, but he can definitely get it done for you in a PPR.
Yes, he can. I can attest to it. All right, moving on to the tight ends. Kyle Rudolph. Look, he was shut out in his first game back from a sports hernia. Say that for you again there, commish hernia surgery. Kyle Rudolph was more involved in the Vikings Week 12 loss to the Packers, catching 3 of 5 targets for 50 yards. He's going to expect more consistency like this moving forward. And he's got a really nice Week 14 matchup against the Jets. They have a tough time against tight ends. So and they got the Panthers coming up this week, so they're also not a great defense. And they got the Lions after the Jets, so be careful with that one. But next 2 weeks should be pretty good for Rudolph.
All right, we're going to move on to tight end Brent Selleck. Kind of mentioning this just because Sanchez took over and seems to have a relationship here. In the last 3 games since Marky Mark has taken over, Selleck has been targeted 17 times, has 11 catches for 175 yards. He is still looking, of course, for his first TD of the season, but in a PPR league, he could still have worse options. And all 5 of the Phillies' remaining regular season games are against teams that are ranked in the bottom 10 as far as fantasy adjusted points to tight ends allowed to. So pretty good schedule moving forward. He's got the Cowboys, Then the Seahawks, who are actually really bad against tight ends, and the Cowboys again. So again, the way the tight end landscape is, you might want to pick him up and play an easy schedule.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Patriots tight end Tim Wright. Some people are sold on this guy. I am, getting there, but not quite. You're not worried about his yardage totals. They've been all over the board. If you're going to buy Tim Wright, you're buying him for his touchdown potentially. 2 of them this past game. He's gotten 6 over his last 7 games. So if you're getting Tim Wright, it's all about the touchdowns, baby. Not about catches, not about yards, just the fact that he's getting thrown the ball when they're in the end zone. They got the Packers, Chargers, and Dolphins coming up next. So he could definitely, if you're looking for someone to get you a touchdown or 2 in the next couple games to get you through, I guess you could get Tim Wright if you're desperate. So that's it for our waiver wire report. We're going to move on to the Who Do I Start section of the show. And what we do here is when we give you the defensive rank of the guy, his matchup, it's the points allowed to the position. So, for instance, Baltimore, Ryan Matthews is at Baltimore. The points allowed by Baltimore over the last 4 weeks to running backs. So we're going to get started here. Hopefully that's not too confusing for you guys. We're going to get started here with Ryan Matthews at Baltimore or Lamar Miller at the Jets. Baltimore 19th, the Jets 17th. So the matchup here is pretty negligible. They're both about the same against the run. Kamish, which one of these guys are you starting if you've got to pick between the 2 of them?
Yeah, like you mentioned, it's pretty close matchup-wise. Both these guys are playing away from their home stadiums. Ryan Matthews just got back. I know he's coming off a pretty good game. He did kind of get banged up a little bit in that one. I just have a little bit more trust in Lamar Miller. He looks great out there. He's playing well. He's been playing all year. His matchup is a couple spots better by the numbers. I think I would go with Lamar Miller.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this. Lamar Miller against the Jets is a nice matchup. Now I'm going to say Baltimore is probably a little better than what that ranking says. They looked pretty damn good against New Orleans, so we'll see. I would definitely go with Lamar Miller there. All right, the next one is Reggie Wayne at home versus Washington, or John Brown from Arizona at Atlanta. So Atlanta is the number 3 on this as far as their ranking goes. So they're a really nice matchup as far as Washington being 18th, so not as good. Rob?
Yeah, I tell you, for me, this one really comes down to if Larry Fitzgerald's going to play. I don't want to just leave it up to that, but if Larry Fitzgerald is out, and again, they're saying that could be a real possibility, his knee is not responding like they thought it would. I think John Brown, it's going to be just Floyd and Brown pretty much here against one of the best matchups on the planet in Atlanta. I think I would give him the nod. If Larry Fitzgerald's back, I think it's more even, and probably give Reggie Wayne, the veteran, the nod there.
Yeah, I would go with Reggie Wayne here. I think probably whether or not Larry Fitzgerald's playing or not, he's getting the most targets on a high octane offense in Indianapolis. So Reggie Wayne is definitely, I would trust him more. All right, next matchup here, Sammy Watkins at home versus Cleveland, who has let the 15th most points go against wide receivers, or Keenan Allen at Baltimore, who's allowed the 2nd most against wide receivers. I already know where I'm going with this one, but I'll let you answer that first.
Yeah, man, I'm going to actually go Keenan Allen here. It's a juicy matchup coming off a really good game. Sammy Watkins, I know he's a stud. He's a rookie stud. But playing against Cleveland and their stud corners there, I think the safer bet there would be Keenan Allen this week.
Yeah, man.
Joe Hayden's no joke.
Yeah, Joe Hayden is the only person that owns Joe Hayden is Antonio Brown. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Keenan Allen here. I mean, that's just such a nice matchup, and Keenan Allen's no joke himself. All right, moving on here, Gio Bernard at Tampa Bay, who is giving up the 9th most points against running backs, or Denard Robinson versus the Giants, who have given up the 8th most points against running backs. Rob?
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's they both have very good matchups here. Gio is away and Denard is home. I wouldn't normally do this, but with Gio just coming back off that injury and not looking so great last week in his first week back and only like 2.5 yards a carry, I think I'd give the nod to Denard at home against the Giants in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do the same. Just because he's at home, he's been getting a lot of carries, and the Giants are not great against the run. And with Gio coming off the injury, I think he's going to be splitting a lot of carries still with Hill. So moving on from that one, Golden Tate at home on Thanksgiving Day against Chicago, who's given up the 10th most points to wide receivers, or Mike Evans at home against Cincinnati, who has given up the 23rd most points, so they're a lot tougher of a matchup there. But Mike Evans has been producing. Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, this is a tough one, man. I'm a huge Golden Tate fan. I own him in several leagues. He's just so good in PPR with such a good matchup. I just don't know that I can get away with from Mike Evans. I mean, the guy is just killing it. He's getting target after target after target. I mean, if it's PPR versus standard, I think you can definitely give Golden Tate, the nod there. But standard leagues and maybe even otherwise, I think it's just hard to get away from Mike Evans right now.
Yeah. Even as a Lions fan, I got to agree with that. Even though it's a tougher matchup, the guy's just been killing it lately. So you got to roll with the hot hand there. Now obviously, if I had both of these guys on a team, I'd try to find a way to play both of them. And if you're trying to decide which one of these guys to play, congratulations. Next up, we got Michael Crabtree at home against Seattle, or Doug Baldwin at San Francisco. Seattle giving up the 31st most points, so they're one of the best teams against the pass, and San Francisco's just one spot behind them. So, terrible matchups here. Man, that's one I don't even want to touch. I'd probably have to go with Crabtree on that. Rob, what do you think about that one?
Yeah, that makes you want to jump on the waiver wire and see what's available.
Dude, exactly. Good God Almighty.
It really is. I mean, I guess I'd go Crabtree just because he's at home. I'd let being home and away be my tiebreaker, but it's brutal. I would hate to have this decision.
Yeah, same here. All right, next up we got Shane Vereen at Green Bay, who apparently over the past 4 weeks has been the best against running backs fantasy point wise, or Mohamed Sanu at Tampa Bay, who's actually been pretty good against the pass lately over the past 4 games. Rob, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, this is tough. I think the difference here a little bit is that Shane Vereen is catching the ball out of the backfield more than just running between the tackles. I think that matchup's probably not as bad for Shane Vereen type running back like it wouldn't be for Sproles. But that being said, they still clearly have a good rush defense. And Sanu, his targets, of course, dropped a little bit off when A.J. Green came back from his injury. Just the sketchiness that is New England, I think I would probably give the edge to Sanu, but I can see you going either way here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Vereen on this one just because I think because Green Bay has been so good against the run that they're going to be trying to, use the screen game and whatnot quite a bit. So moving here, Rashad Jennings at Jacksonville, who's given up the 3rd most points against running backs over the past 4 weeks, or LaShawn McCoy at Dallas, who's given up the 4th most points to running backs over the last 4 weeks. There's that terrible Dallas defense we were expecting.
Yeah, this is a good problem to have, and hopefully, if you have this situation, you could play them both or play one on the flex because they're both great. You know, Rashad Jennings looked really good coming back in his second game back from his knee tweak that he had. You know, but man, LaShawn McCoy, he's just the better talent in the better offense. He's coming off a really good game himself. I think I would give McCoy the nod if I had to choose.
Yeah, I would. I'm gonna say Jennings, man. I mean McCoy. You know, McCoy's coming back, and he looked good last week, but he hasn't been exactly great this year. Especially for a lot of people who picked him up first overall or second. You know, in that first round, they grabbed him early. I'm gonna go with Rashad Jennings against Jacksonville. I think he's gonna have a great game. I think people are underestimating him just a little bit because he's been gone for so long. All right, so what we're gonna do next here, since Odell Beckham Jr. has been so hot lately and looks so good, we're gonna go ahead and he's playing at Jacksonville this week, who has given up the 17th most points against wide receivers. We're going to go rapid fire on 5 guys here, and I'm going to give them to you one at a time. You're going to answer them, and we'll go right back and forth here. So Odell Beckham Jr. at Jacksonville or T.Y. Hilton at home against Washington, who is giving up the 18th most points to wide receivers.
Yeah, and I will preface this by saying, just so our listeners know, Odell did get kind of banged up in this one. He did come back in the game, so we're assuming he's at full health when we make these start-sit questions here, answer them for you. So Odell Beckham, T.Y. Hilton, man, I'm going to go T.Y. Hilton here at home. I just trust Andrew Luck more than I do Eli Manning. And even though the matchups are very similar, they're both middle of the road as far as defenses against the wide receiver. I'd go Ty.
Agreed on that one. All right, Odell Beckham Jr. at Jacksonville or Randall Cobb at home against New England, who has given up the 12th most points to wide receivers so far over the past 4 games.
Yeah, this series is basically trying to figure out how highly do you think of Odell coming off one of these best catches, because these guys that we're putting up against are really stud guys.
That's exactly what I'm trying to, we're trying to figure out here.
Yeah, I got to go Cobb. I mean, I know he's coming off kind of a down week this past week, but again, I trust Aaron Rodgers more. It should be a high-scoring game versus New England and a better matchup. I'd go Cobb.
Agreed also on that one. All right, ODB. Or Emmanuel Sanders at Kansas City, who has given up the 14th most points to wide receivers over the past 4 weeks.
Yeah, Peyton Manning. Emmanuel Sanders is top 5 wide receiver this season thus far. They're both playing away from their home stadiums, but I definitely give the nod to Emmanuel.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. This one's going to throw a little monkey wrench in there. All right, Odell Beckham Jr. at Jacksonville or Arian Foster returning from injury, if he does, at home against Tennessee, who's given up the 2nd most points to running backs over the past 4 weeks.
Yeah, you just can't pass up that matchup at home. I mean, if Foster is a go, unless they're talking about some sort of snap count thing, or with Blue splitting carries. If he's a full go for this game at home versus Tennessee, as you said, giving up the 2nd most points to running backs, you just have to go Foster.
Yep. And this one's I threw this one in there just for fun because I actually saw this on a website. People are actually asking all of these questions, but this one was actually kind of high on the list, and I was shaking my head and scratching my head a little bit as to why this would even be a question. But Odell Beckham Jr. at Jacksonville or Jimmy Graham at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's a clear nod to the Jiminator.
Yeah, dude, that's I don't, like I said, I put it on there because it's kind of funny that somebody would even wanted to ask this question. So
this is more of just kind of a reality check here, folks. I mean, not that we don't think bad of Odell by any stretch. The guy is an absolute beast. He's a talent. He's the best pass catcher on that team, bar none, hands down. He's going to start over 95% of the options that you have. These are just trying to get the pulse of where we're at on this guy compared to some of these other elite options. But he's a must start every single week, just to make that point clear.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy, he showed you what he can do. That's astounding. But the fact that he just catches, I mean, he caught 10 of 11 targets this week. So he's very consistent at catching the ball. He's a great athlete. So he's going to be putting up some numbers. And if you're in a keeper league, like the Commission IR, this guy wasn't even drafted this year because he was injured for the first part of the season. So when you pick him up in our keeper league, stuff like that, I mean, you get a great deal on him. You could keep him in the last round if he was a free agent. So that kind of stuff, I mean, guys like Odell Beckham Jr. are great in fantasy for that kind of reason. So that's going to be it for our start sit this week. Check back with us next week for more start sit advice because we like to do it. It's fun. Rob?
It is fun, and that is it for the show. We will be discussing Week 14 waiver wire grabs next week, along with helping you decide, as we just did, who to start and who to sit. In the meantime, as always, go to RedZoneWarriors.com where you can check our waiver wire report, see our rankings, and subscribe to and rate the show via iTunes. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter and tweet us all your fantasy football questions at Red Zone Warriors. So, for the Cushman, I am Rod the Commish Smith, and again, from both of us, happy Thanksgiving to one and all. And we
Stuff
will
your face.
Stuff your face and take a nap, and we'll catch you next time.